My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Alright, today we have a review of the Timex MK1 Mechanical. So a little bit background on Timex. At one time, Timex was the #1 watch producer in America, but after the quartz crisis, they greatly scaled back the company and the manufacture of mechanical watches. However, about 3 years ago, they returned to the mechanical market with the Timex Marlin. That watch is still around and comes in a variety of dial colors and variants. And they've added to their mechanical and automatic line since then, which is really cool. Now, this particular watch is from their archive collection, and again, it's called the Timex MK1 Mechanical. This model is based on their camper model from the 80s, but it's also reminiscent of many watches from the 1950s and 60s from Timex. So, as always, we're going to do specifications, pros, cons, and then answer the question, is this watch worth the money? But first, I just want to ask, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. So real quick, I never really cover packaging on this channel or unboxing, but I did think this package was kind of cute. It kind of looks like a little book. It's this box, and then it had this keeper, this band that was holding it closed. So it kind of opens like a little book. And then they had the documentation in here, and then under the documentation there was the watch. So just kind of pointing out, I really like the packaging. I thought it was kind of charming for this piece. All right, on to the specifications. Now, this is a smaller watch. It's only 36 millimeter in case diameter. It's 42.5 millimeter lug to lug, and then it's only 10.5 millimeters thick, and part of that is that big domed acrylic crystal. And then you have an 18 millimeter lug width here. Now, the entire case is brushed, and I like the choice to do an all brushed finish. There isn't really a chamfered edge on the transition from the side case to the top of the case, but that's okay. I like the simplicity of this case. It's a good choice for this style of watch. So it is supplied on this 18 millimeter canvas strap that's olive green with a white stripe down the middle. Now, it is quite firm and rigid to begin with, but I think it's going to break in over time, and the fact that it is firm and rigid also makes me feel like it will hold up over time. There's some nice matching stitching around the edge that you can see there, and there is a matching pin and buckle. It's the same same brushing as the case itself, and is signed with that Timex logo. And then you have this canvas keeper, which does a good job of holding the tail of the watch when you are wearing it. And then finally, it is supplied on, there's these quick release spring bars, which I always like to see on a watch. It's going to make strap changes very easy. And at 18 millimeters, you can change the strap if you're not happy with the one it came on. Now for the case back, we just have a snap-in case back. It has this really nice logo with Timex and kind of the globe there. I like what they did here. This is something fun to see when you flip the watch over. There's a lot of text going on. It's kind of saying established 1854, letting you know it's stainless steel as part of the MK1 collection, and that we have 50 meters of water resistance. So powering this watch is a 20 joule, 21,600 vibration per hour hacking and hand winding movement. So keep in mind, this is not an automatic. To keep this running, you're going to have to manually wind it every day. That's something people are probably going to hate or love, but I find the winding on this watch is very satisfying. The crown is a nice size to accomplish that winding, and I like to wind it up every morning. But that's something you'll have to decide if you really want to do that every morning or not. The manufacturer of this movement is not specified, but it's probably a Miyota or Seagull movement. I do want to open this watch, probably do it in a later video. I have gotten a little bit into tinkering, disassembling, and rebuilding movements, including oiling. I don't know how much I'll integrate that into the channel, but I'll definitely get this case back off and we can kind of see what is powering this watch. So we just have an unsigned push-pull crown here, but it is a decent size and it does really facilitate that hand winding. So you just wind it up every day. I don't know if you guys will be able to make that out, but it makes a really satisfying click. But that is the process you'll have to go through each morning to keep this watch running. Now the crystal on here, they went with this really cool domed acrylic crystal, so you get really fun distortions, and I think acrylic was a perfect choice to give it that vintage feel. Now keep in mind, acrylic is easier to scratch, but it's also very easy to polish those scratches out using something like Polywatch. The dial is this nice matte olive green. It can appear lighter or darker depending on the lighting conditions. And then pretty simple for text, they have Timex at the 12 o'clock, mechanical at the 6 o'clock, and then just archive and water resistance of 15 meters around the 6 o'clock indice. For indices, we have these nice bright white Arabic numerals, 1 to 12, and then a smaller ring with the 24-hour scale 13 to 24. At each of the hour indices, you do have a small plot of Lume, and then there's dashes indicating each of the minutes, and those are further broken down into 1/5 of a minute dashes. So for the handset, they went with these simple baton hands. They are filled with Lume, and you can see there's a really fun Lume pip at the end of the second hand, which I really like. Now, I'm a pretty big stickler for the second hand and the minute hand reaching all the way out for the dashes for the minutes, and it doesn't quite make it here. However, I think the size of these hands is right for the watch overall, and it doesn't bother me on this watch in particular. So for the Lume test, I picked the SARB 033 because it has, small Lume plots, very similar to the Timex. But you can see the Timex just doesn't hold up. Immediately after I charge it, it fades to almost unreadable in about a minute. Now that's masked a little bit by the camera not being able to pick up the Lume, but I can tell you it's quite weak in person as well. And here it is on the Timegrapher. You can see it's gaining about 20 seconds a day. So running a little fast, but I would expect that to slow down a little bit over time. And I do prefer watches to run fast rather than slow because it's much easier to hack them and let the time catch up than it is to set a watch that is behind. I'm not sure if the amplitude or the beat error is correct because I don't know the lift angle of this movement because I don't know what movement it is. But you can also see there on the far right is beating at 21,600 vibrations per hour. So there it is on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. Now 36 millimeters is much smaller than what I'm used to wearing. I usually shoot for 39. So I will admit for the first few days it did look rather small, but you just keep wearing it and you really acclimate to its size, and now it doesn't seem small to me at all. And it looks pretty great on this stock strap that it came with. I really like the color choice and that they signed the pin buckle there. However, at 18 millimeters, you're going to have no shortage of strap choices, and because these are quick release spring bars, you'll be able to switch it very easily. All right, pros and cons then. Well, on the pro side, this is a safe, affordable way to get a vintage style watch. This watch, especially with its small size, acrylic crystal, and hand-winding movement, has all the charm of a vintage watch with none of the worry and risk about the watch being frankened or fake or in poor mechanical health. It also features a hacking movement, which is a really nice touch on this watch. I was convinced for some reason it wasn't going to hack, and then I was very pleasantly surprised when I found that it did. And then finally, this is a Timex making mechanical watches, which that's just really cool. The only con I really have going for this watch is that the Lume is very poor, as you saw in the Lume time-lapse, and at this price point, they could have done better. Either make the Lume good or don't put the Lume on the watch at all is really my opinion on Lume. So is this watch worth the money? I really love that Timex is in the business of selling mechanical watches again. However, I do feel you pay a slight premium for that Timex on the dial. However, if you want a vintage style mechanical watch and you wait for a sale, because these do go on 20% sales pretty often and they're about $150, I think these are worth the money, especially if you consider that it's coming from a very storied and famous watch brand like Timex. All right, there you guys go. The review of the Timex MK1 Mechanical. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you enjoyed the content of this particular video, give it a thumbs up. Until then, this is Jason with Just Watches, and I'll see you next time.